We've got an amazing panel today because today we're going to talk about what everybody wants is to make more money. So how do you elevate your price point, right? How do you get into, maybe not increasing the number of homes or properties you're selling, but you elevate your price point. So we've got three awesome panelists. We're going to start out today with Alex in Indy, who's going to tell us his secrets to how he has elevated his price point.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Stephanie. So I think there's a lot of different ways to look at this, and I'll kind of go through. I've got a list of 4 ways, and I'll start talking about it. And if anybody has questions during the process, feel free to jump in and ask. But I think the first way to look at this is if you're in the business and you're working your clients, whether you're new or you've been in a long time, one way to increase your price point is to have lifelong clients. So if you look at the quality of client that you get, if they purchased a home in 2015 and they're calling you to move right now, there's a strong likelihood that 1, you're going to be selling their property, and 2, the next property that they're going to buy is going to be at a more expensive price point. So when you look at that, you take a client, you service them, you treat them well, you grow your database with them, you nurture them over the life of the relationship, and they move. And so let's say when they initially buy that first house, they buy it for $200,000. And if they bought that house for $200,000 in 2015, they're going to be selling it today for $300,000. And when they sell that property, they're probably going to be jumping up to a $400,000 property. So now you've got 2 deals with an average sale price of $350,000 a piece with the same client that you nurtured 8 years ago. And so it's not about necessarily always just going and get a higher price point today, but it's about doing this over the life of the process in your business. So I think Drew just put something in the chat about your career, not just about fishing for commissions today. So again, that is a really long-term play. That's, if I look at my average price point, I have a tracker. It's insane, but I've tracked every single transaction that I've done since 2013, how much commission, how much, like all the stuff on it. And you can see where all of my step-up buyers started to really get into a higher price point. When I started in the business, for the first 6 or 7 years, I had a price point between $225,000 and $250,000. And that was shaken out to be about anywhere from 30 to 50 deals a year. And now the team that I manage will do last year and then this year we'll do 175 to 200 transactions over the course of the year, with an average of all those deals shaken out between $350,000 and $365,000. So a big part of that is building the lifelong relationships with those clients and then riding that market appreciation that we're also fortunate to be a part of right now. The next thing I would say is prospecting in particular areas that you want to work in that are higher price values of homes. So if you're somebody that's working in an area that focuses on 300,000 and you want to go to 500,000, you need to start establishing a presence in those $500,000 markets. So a couple ways that I would suggest you do that. Option number 1, it's always the shortcut. You can buy leads in those areas. So we use a relationship with Zillow. I pay for leads. It's a facilitator. It's gas on what we already do to try to grow things faster. But we pay for leads in zip codes with higher priced opportunities. So when those opportunities come in, we're able to get, maybe, let's just say it's your first client. You get a client that's going to do something for 500 grand and you've been working in a $300,000 price point. You should be sending out direct mail. You should be putting targeted sponsored ads on Instagram and social media that you're selling at these price points. And what it serves as is a validator to your whole database that, hey, Alex can do things at a higher price point. He's just not somebody that works in a smaller area of town. Additionally, when you're sending those things out, what I did when I started, you were able to see the direct mail that I would send. You would see a sign in the yard from a listing, or hey, we just represented the buyer. And then you would see us on social media, and then you would see us on Zillow, and then you would see me on Facebook, and then you would see me in the area at the farmer's market or at a restaurant or a bar. So I was intentional about where I was existing to help people recognize that, oh, Alex really specializes in this part of town. And it was a higher price point than what I was traditionally doing. So the next thing I would say is if you're an agent and you work at a brokerage and you don't have any listings or you don't have opportunity, what you should be doing, if I were you, I would find a broker in your office that has a listing in an area of town that you want to work at a price point you want to work at. And you should take your butt there and you should sit in that open house and you should push out squeeze pages through Facebook and on social media to market that there are listings in that area. A lot of the consumers today, they don't know whose listing is whose unless you identify it as yourself. So if you get permission from another realtor to say, hey, I'm going to market your listing, can I do it? Your clients oftentimes will think, hey, that's a great opportunity that Stephanie has in this market. I should reach out to her because I want to go see that property. So you're marketing other people's listings. You're leveraging their opportunities to help promote yourself to then facilitate the showing or the opportunity to break into that area. A low-hanging fruit, FSBOs and expireds, nobody wants to do them. If a house expires at a price point you want to work at, you should call them. You should ask if they're interviewing other realtors, if there's an opportunity for you to get in the door there. For sale by owners are the same thing. And then the last thing I have here, you should delegate your lower price opportunities to your peers and and look, if you're busy and you're doing $250,000 deals a year or $250,000 deals a year, and you get one at $125,000, sometimes it makes more sense to give that opportunity to somebody else. You're supporting their business, you're supporting their career, and you have a higher and better use of your own time. So you then share that lead with somebody else. They go do the opportunity to start building and growing. You get an override on a commission, whether there's a split that you share that lead with, and you don't have to go do that lower price point transaction. So that's another way that you can help increase your price point. Other things that I'll hit on real quick. You want to be taken more seriously at a higher price point. Your car should be clean. Your face should be clean. Your hair should be done. Your shirt should be tucked in. You should dress well. You should present well. Do not be a slob or you will be perceived as a slob in the market. If you walk into a stranger's house, you should have your shoes should be clean. Your pants should be clean. Those are things that are controllable. And it's an easy way to be taken more seriously than walking in gym shorts or a t-shirt that's untucked or looking like a slob.
Some of those sound extremely harsh, but it is true. I mean, you've got to be put together, but you also need to look at, and I'm sure we'll touch on this. We've got two more panelists, and that was awesome, Alex. But look at yourself on social media because all of these people. Here's what I do, okay? And so if I do it, I assume most people in the luxury price point that can afford luxury do this as well. I research anybody and everybody I'm going to do business with. I want to see what they're about. I want to see what they're posting on, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I do a complete, John Herhold can attest to this. I am like a private investigator, aren't I, John? In minutes, I know exactly who I'm meeting. I do that because I care so much about my reputation that I don't ever want to be drug into something that is the slight bit of shade, right? And so I assume that potential clients of mine that I want to be are going to do the same thing about me. And that's why everything is extremely clean. So I'm going to add all those amazing things Alex said. I'm going to add to that. Not only does your clothes and your hair and your car and all that need to look like you can, represent them, but you need to make sure your social media does as well too, because that will make or break in some of the business. Look, people with money will be more picky. They always are. And that's okay because I'm that way too. So, just keep that in mind because it's a huge amount. I was a principal broker for over 20 years in this business. And when agents would come to me and say, Stephanie, I lost that listing that was going to be $2.5 million. I'm just devastated. And I'm like, okay, well, let's walk through this process of how did you lose that? Who did they choose? And every single time it had everything to do with appearance And then I know that sucks, guys, but it's true. It did. It had everything to do with appearance and the level of what they were doing, right? People are not hiring you to tell them what opinion they should have or what they should think about presidential campaigns or whatever the hell it is. Just leave it off your Facebook and your social media and all that good stuff. All right. It's what we choose if this is the career path you want to take. So, Alex, that was awesome. Anybody have any questions for Alex before we move to our next speaker? All right, put them in the chat if you think of something. All right, up next, we've got Michael. Michael is an icon agent in Columbus. So you're doing tons of deals, Michael. Come on.
Hey there, guys. How's it going? All right, awesome. Well, thanks for having me on. And, just to kind of piggyback on what we just covered. So I haven't been in the business all that long, about 3 years full time. Prior to that, I have background in tech, sales, startups, that sort of thing. So a lot of experience working with business owners and senior leadership, that sort of thing. But transitioning a lot of what I was doing in that to real estate has been interesting because I'm kind of, coming at it from a different angle that not everyone that's been doing it for the last 10, 20 years has been doing. So learning a lot, still learning a lot, but definitely implementing things that have been working, and it's gotten me to a good spot so far. So, for me, I try to elevate my price point with every transaction I do, and I think incrementally that makes a difference. And ways that I've done it are a lot of the same ways that we've just discussed, but definitely focus on landing some listings in the higher end neighborhoods. The luxury listings are key. Ways I've done that are doing open houses. I've done a lot of open houses in my first few years, and I target the neighborhoods that I want to be in that are these luxury neighborhoods that I know the price points are much higher. Because when I first started, I was grabbing leads from Op City and here and there and they were $80,000 and $60,000 leads, and I was working them really hard, and I'd get them to the finish, get them to the finish line, and just realize, wow, I felt good about getting them into that home, et cetera, but I worked really, really hard. And at the end of the day, the payoff wasn't what I wanted and what I needed. So I quickly realized I got to pivot from that. So anyway, I started focusing on how can I land some more luxury listings, and started elevating that price point, doing open houses for other agents. And that worked pretty well. I picked up, a few unrepresented buyers that have come through at the $1 million price point, give or take, which is, in Columbus, we're probably right around 350, 375 for average price point. So I definitely have leveraged that, prospecting, canvassing those neighborhoods afterwards. After I do an open house, I make sure that I try to find out as much as possible once I get a listing in that neighborhood. Hey, who are your neighbors? Neighbors know neighbors. They either like them or they don't. But I would ask my seller, tell me about your neighbors. Tell me about your neighborhood. And then I'm taking notes. And then I'm doing what Stephanie was saying. I'm checking on Facebook for these people and finding out, what are they all about? What are they into? What do their kids do? Which sports are they playing? Which high school they go to? Because I then make myself as noticeable in that neighborhood as possible. I have my sign in the yard. I walk around in the neighborhood and just talk to whoever's out. I put door hangers. I basically interact with them as much as I can. I let them know, hey, I just listed this house. I'm going to do an open house. I would love for you guys to walk through it. You have nosy neighbors. You have neighbors that maybe just have an interest for their own reasons. But I always ask them, hey, do you know who you want to live next to you? Do you have family, friends? Who would you like to send through this house? Because neighbors are always worried about who's going to move in next, who's going to be there. So they get engaged that way. I'll hold kind of an earlier open house for the neighbors, just to kind of make them feel special and say, hey guys, at 10:30, or if I'm going to start at 11, I'll start a half hour early, and I'll invite all the neighbors in and make them feel special. They interact with each other. They feel comfortable. They start talking. I'm listening, taking notes. And I've gotten some clients from kind of doing that model and having people come in early and just building rapport with them. I also always send them a follow-up report about their home. because they're usually curious. That's why they're there. They're like, well, what's this home selling for? What's the price point? What's that mean about my home? How are things going to sell for me? So I'm able to then connect with them initially, hopefully get that report in their hands, and then that spurs more questions from them. And then I kind of follow up and say, hey, I'd love to go over any questions you have. I know I sent you a lot of information. There's probably something that you're curious about. I'd love to answer that question for you. So that's worked really well for me. And then on the other side of things, doing two-sided transactions is huge for me. So you can't always, dictate that, but lifelong customers, I'm calling on customers that I handled their advertising accounts as business owners for the last, 10, 15 years. And I did a really, what I consider a really good job for them with their advertising. And I built rapport and trust. And now that I'm in a different industry, I still have that relationship built with them. So take whatever industry you were in previously and call on those people and find, those folks that you've worked with before that already trust you. And, it's an easier transition. People change careers all the time. It happens. So when I show up to, a CEO of a plumbing company that I did their advertising for 10, 12 years ago, all of a sudden they're like, hey, you know what? We're looking to do this with our primary home. We would like to get a vacation home down, at Lake Cumberland. And by the way, we're looking to expand and open up another office on the other side of town. So all of a sudden, you just exponentially increase your business with people that already trust you. So definitely, people say your sphere of influence, but I think a lot of times they don't tell you. Nobody told me like, hey, go talk to the people that you've interacted with in your past careers and really just keep those relationships going and let them know now you're in real estate full time and this is what you do. So I would take that note. I think that's one that maybe a lot of people aren't doing currently. You're reaching out to your friends, your cousins, your family, people that you normally interact with, but are you going to those people that you serviced or you really took care of 10, 20 years ago or 15 or 5 years ago, that maybe you haven't talked to in 5 or 10 years, but they know you, they remember you. The minute you show up, they recognize your face and, we'll go from there. And then as far as on the buyer side, what I do is I like to definitely always, hang on, I'm just checking my notes here. Typically, when I first start working with a buyer, I obviously go through the initial stages with them and find out what they're looking for, et cetera. But I always dive in with the lender right away. And I don't know that this is something everybody does. And again, my context is just what I know from the last 3 years I've been doing it and learning as I go. But I always call them and have a good conversation with them and ask them some detailed questions. Do they have funds set aside for closing costs? Where are we with this one? What type of loan programs do you have available for them? Because a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm a FHA, that's what it is. Maybe that was the easiest thing to get them approved for. But there are a lot of other loan opportunities out there. There's USDA, there's OFA, stuff that can give them some benefits and some grants that might free up money so that they do have an appraisal gap or funds for an appraisal gap, or they do have money for the closing costs that they need. And I always try to build in seller concessions so that I can use any money that they do have to, leverage and get them even more for their money. But more specifically, I find out, can they bump their pre-approval up? A lot of people have in their mind, or their lender says, hey, you're pre-approved for 350. And they say, okay, great. We're good at 350. I really dig in with the lender. I say, hey, what are the other options? What can we do? Can they go to 375? Can they go to 400? And most of the time the answer is yes. Sometimes it's no, but majority of the time it's yes. So then I have that in my back pocket. I dial in their search for them. I always include the homes that are 10 to 20% higher than anything they're looking for. And when I go out to show them homes, I show them, a handful of homes. I try to limit it. I try to really dial in what they're looking for. I try to show them something right in their price point that hits most of their markers, checks most of the boxes. I try to show them something that is really right in their price point, but really may not have, all the check marks on it. And then I try to show them something, one or two that are a stretch for them, but it's their dream home, and they're buying a dream home. They're not just buying well, okay, I guess I can live there if I have to. So I kind of, I equate it to what I did in my advertising career when I was working with business owners. I would go in and talk about their marketing and their advertising program. And I would say, hey, this is what we've been doing. This is what we've done the last year. How did it work? Did it work pretty well? Most of the time was like, yeah, well, yeah, I guess so, whatever. Well, we always had built-in increases in our ad spend for them. Even if they were going to keep the same thing, it was still going to cost them a little bit more, which they were never happy about. So I had to figure out a way to show them, package A, B, and C, and say, hey, here's package A, everything stays the same. You got to pay a little bit more for it. Nobody likes to hear that. Here's package B, because they're always like, how do I cut? How do I cut? How do I save money? Here's package B. You're really going to get a lot less for your money, and it's a lot less valuable. Package C is 10-20% higher, but it's infinitely better, so same thing with the homes. I'm trying to show them an infinitely better home at 20-30% higher, 15% higher than where they thought they wanted to be. And almost without fail, when I show them that home and we reevaluate, that's the one that they want to move forward with. Now, whether or not we can compete in the market and they have a big enough appraisal gap and that sort of thing, those are things we have to also consider. But just getting their minds to say, you know what, I may only buy 1, 2, 3, 4 homes in my life. Why am I going to just take this okay home that he showed me at 350 instead of this really, markedly better home at 400 plus? So those are things I do. They've worked well for me. And basically that's kind of the long and short of how I'm growing my business, trying to do fewer transactions but higher price point. I'm doing that year over year. It's very noticeable in my numbers of where I've been able to increase that. And I think that it's something that everyone can do. You just have to focus on it.
Love it, Michael. And you said a lot of great nuggets there, and I love it. Congratulations, 3 years in the business and you've already figured this out. So kudos to you. I mean, that's amazing. But you said two things that one of my favorite words in real estate, canvassing. I told my team earlier this year, I said, look, you're going to get out and you're going to canvas. We're going to go old school. This is what I did back in 1999 before, we had all kinds of technology. We pounded the pavement. We knocked on doors. I want you to start canvassing. So I love that you use that word. And then also, I love the fact that you're doing this early open house and inviting the neighbors in, because I've done those in my 25 years in the business. And what I have found is that neighbors want to choose their neighbors and they know everyone. And I don't know how many times that has worked in my favor where something just sells very quickly because all of a sudden there's this opportunity. But what else that's done for me, and I'm sure it's done this for you too, is I look at that as not only an opportunity to get to know the neighbors and for the neighbors to bring all their friends in. But secondly, it's a job interview for myself, because those neighbors are paying attention to how I'm organizing this and how I'm pulling it off. And that has led to more listings because they're like, damn, this agent works, because think about it, you all. In your existing business, how often are you sending emails and sending text messages versus how often are you personalizing and socializing with potential clients? That's where I think that's exactly why, Michael, you're winning and you've done so well in 3 years of time, because you've brought that old school thinking back into real estate, which I think more of us should do, because that is how we stand out. And, for the agents that aren't quite there yet, you don't have that opportunity for these listings right now. You say, well, I can't host a neighborhood get together because I don't have a listing. Reach out to agents in your brokerage that do have those listings. Because I guarantee you, many of them aren't thinking like this and say, look, I would love to take your listing and host a neighborhood party, invite the neighbors in, do this, do that, whatever the case is, and just ask those questions. If somebody ever reached out to me and said, I'd like to do this, I'd be like, absolutely do it, right? Go for it.
Yeah.
So you have those opportunities as long as you're connected with a brokerage with some good inventory. And so pay attention to that and ask to showcase someone else's. So that's awesome, Michael. I love it. All right, we've got another superstar from Indy. Drew, are you ready, sir?
I'm ready. I'm going to take my virtual background off. Guys, I've been in real estate for 20 years. I'm a husband to Lindsay, a dad to Grayson, Sullivan, and Addison, and a realtor to many. And when I'm teaching my kids lessons, I'm always trying to be as visual as possible. So I'm going to have 3 cups, guys. Can you see the 3 cups? And then I have a bag of popcorn, and basically, sorry if that's really loud, I'm going to disperse the popcorn in the cups, okay? Based on my 20 years of experience in the secret magic formula on how to increase your purchase price. So I'm going to throw 1 in the open house cup. I think they're great. I love what Alex said there. I think the Fizbos could probably go in the exact same bucket. I'm going to go with 1 in the social media bucket. I think social media is just changing the game. But guys, the secret to it all is just have rich friends, and you're going to increase your purchase price. So no, I kid. I am probably one of the most intentional people that you'll meet. And I'm going to just give you an example of, what these guys said was spot on. I am always trying to add value anywhere I'm at. For example, I'm the basketball coach for my kids' games. I'm trying to give back as much as possible. I can't coach the football because of just the time that it takes, but I'm still a game day. I'm going to go to every game day. So just last week, the coach said, "Can you fly a drone?" I said, "No, but I'll learn." And so in a week, I've learned how to fly a drone. And now I upload it to Huddle, and I basically sent out 10 to 12 text messages of the plays individually, just what Stephanie just said, very intentional with the videos of the big plays that these kids made. And I feel like these parents are just the reaction that I'm getting from them. And our kids go to a Catholic school. So like we're spending money. I got more than a gentle nudge from both my mother-in-law and my mom to go the Catholic route. But it's a closer knit community. And so for me, it's just trying to bloom where you're planted and stay in touch with those people and try to create as much value as possible. I play a lot of golf. Golf is an expensive sport. I'm a member of a country club, so I'm always trying to bring people again and network where I know like affluent people are going to be. Now, I'm not talking to people only with money, but I just feel like there's just somebody asked me the other day, have you ever flown first class, and why do you do it? Well, I'm 6'3", so I like the extra leg room, but I pay it because of the access to the people that I could potentially run into. And I sold $1.5 million this year from somebody that I met on an airplane last year, just because I decided to spend a couple $100 more on first class. I loved what Alex said on latching on to somebody. At 22 years old, I was going to every broker's open in town based on like Qdoba or Chick-fil-A or whatever the free meal was. we didn't really have social media back then, but I would, if newer agents are on here, you can go on there and fake it till you make it, and take some. Everyone wants to be a secret agent. Like, just do it. It doesn't need a high produced social media video. You can simply just go in there and talk about a pendant light or something cool in that listing, and people will notice. My average purchase price is $498,000. We did 105 homes last year for about $53 million. My advice is probably just to take it one step at a time. I think if you guys if your average purchase price is 200,000, let's say, focus on 50%. So try to get to 300,000. And if you do that in 4 short years, you'll be at $1 million. So I think it's Alex's, like I put in the chat here, think about the year and not the career. I mean, that I've grown with my database 100%, where I think in maybe my second or third year, I went from 8 to 10 million to 20 to 25, and have been around there ever since. And then I decided to start a team, and then we just continued to grow. But I think it's be intentional, know who you're running with, know who you're associating with, and always be looking to add value and try to solve other people's problems. A lot of the people on the football team, for example, not everybody can go to the games. Maybe they were talking to their spouse and they missed Alex Naughton's touchdown. Well, I'm the guy that sends the personalized text to his parents and say, hey, I'll sell you Alex's touchdown video for $10. And obviously I didn't collect on that, but I sent it to them. They got a joke. They know I'm in real estate. I made laminated roster. I wish I had them, that said every kid's name and number, and then had my logo and put with some sarcasm, this highly produced roster is brought to you by Drewco Realty at eXp Realty, and gave it out to the parents. It's just like, just try to be there and try to give back to everything that you guys are doing. Friday night, we sold a $2 million house last year, and they sold an 800. So I wanted to do something special for those folks. So we had a sushi party at their house, and we allowed them to invite 16 of their closest friends. I paid $1,200 for the sushi chef that everyone talks about. This guy's booked 12 months in advance. So I book him every time I go to an event. I book him for another 12 months, multiple times, as many times as I can, because it's totally worth it. I use it for different reasons and different groups of people. But I was then this morning going on and adding all of the people that were at that sushi party to Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, and just trying to grow that database. And then the clients, and then the referral of the client that put us in touch with them, they were shouting us out. And it's just doing little things like that, guys, that I think add up to big numbers.
Love it, Drew. Love it. And that's one of the things I first learned about Drew is you spend a lot of money on making people feel special, but that's why you make a lot of money. You've got to put money in it. Now, for those that are like, okay, I don't have that kind of money, but I need to get into the price point, think about those ways that you can be drawing attention. For example, let's say you have an opportunity to work for a buyer, but there's nothing on the market. One of the easiest ways, and if anybody works for UPS or FedEx, just act like you didn't hear this, but what I tell my team when they're canvassing, if somebody's not home, see these right here, UPS Express folders, these are free. If you walk into any UPS store and say, I need some mailing envelopes, they'll hand these to you. It only costs if you send them UPS. But when you deliver something to somebody's house, because maybe you're interested in getting the listing or whatever the case might be, maybe it's an expired, maybe it's a FSBO or whatever, they will open this if it's laying up on their front door or on their front porch, right? It's a way to get attention. It's what you put in it as well that's impressive and, you know, that needs to be important. It doesn't need to be a ton of stuff. It just needs to be to the point of what the message is. But the open rate for something like this is 99%. And the only reason why there's the 1% that doesn't open is because you accidentally left it at a vacant property. Seriously. I mean, this is how I get attention when I'm trying to go after, you know, certain things. I don't call FSBOs. I don't do any of that anymore. But for my team that's actively doing those things, they don't call, they deliver, and they deliver it in this envelope. We have thousands of these in the office on that for that very reason. So another little tidbit there. Anybody have any questions? This has been awesome today.
Hey, while we're waiting on questions, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on something Drew said that really kind of touched on something that I've done that I kind of didn't even think about when we were, you know, talking about this and planning this, but something that I think everybody should do. And if you're not already doing it, try to figure out how you can do it. But tap into whatever you're passionate about in your hobbies. You know, for me, it's been soccer. For, you know, I played all the sports growing up, but I stuck with soccer through college. I played professionally for a while. And then after that, I started coaching. So I've been coaching for 20 plus years. I've coached high school. I've coached club soccer from 7-year-olds all the way up through 18-year-olds. And I've coached at university for 6 years. So I have hundreds and hundreds of potential, you know, connections out there that I've influenced, recruiting kids at the college level, helping kids get to the next level. And I'm tapping into those relationships now. And, you know, I might have started coaching their kid back in 2004 or you know, whatever. Well, their kid now is in his late 20s or mid 20s, and I'm helping with their first home. Just helped a situation where a former player of mine got married. You know, they're having their first kid. I just got them their first home. And on the other hand, all the parents of these kids that I coach, I invested so much time and effort and interaction with these kids as a mentor and a coach. They trust me, and you know, they're looking now. They're empty nesters. They're looking to downsize. Which, by the way, it's a two-sided transaction. You get the listing and the buy side, but a lot of these downsizers, they're selling their house, and they're buying a house that's just smaller, but the price point's usually similar or even more. So it's not like they're downsizing to something that's, you know, half as much money. But really tapping into that. I do private sessions now for kids in the community, whatever level they're at. I'll work with them on the weekend. And then I have kids of my own now, 2.5-year-old, 1.5-year-old. I'm doing sessions in the park on Saturday mornings, and just getting it out to the neighborhood in Upper Arlington here, where I'm connecting now with kids from their daycare and, you know, friends of friends now that are coming out, a whole new crop of kids and parents and people I wouldn't have known before that are now like, oh, okay, you're Michael, you're the soccer coach guy. But wait, what do you do? Oh, you're a realtor. Okay, awesome. Well, by the way, we're thinking about this or we're doing that. And then you become that resource, which is, I guess, key is adding value, being valuable, being that resource to them. So when they have questions and you're just in a natural conversation, they know who you are. So they tend to then ask you questions that are connected to your profession. So I think that's huge. And, you know, back to what, you know, Drew was saying, that's something that everybody can do, even if it's not your hobby or passion, it's your kid's hobby or passion. Like what he's doing is awesome. It's huge just on the surface, but then he's building so much rapport with his parents. They love it. They're like, hey, he's our highlight guy. He's our personal highlight guy. He's given us, you know, these memories that we're capturing and seeing, but we're going to be able to have them forever. And it's just, it builds so much trust and, you know, gets him in a prime position to be the guy when it's time for them to do something. So
Yeah.
anyway, sorry, go on.
No, you're exactly right. It's a a good coach can change a game, a great coach can change a life. So the basketball team's a different deal. So I'll have a player coach meeting with expectations, and then I will, at the end of the season, I dropped off last year, like basketball or glasses that keep the players from looking, or keep them looking up instead of down, and then handwritten notes to all the players about how much I enjoyed coaching them. I mean, that goes so far.
All those things.
And the parents, like, who are they going to trust? They're going to trust the guy that is pouring into their kid and taking time to pour into the community. They're not going to trust the Zillow agent that they don't know. And so
Right.
we do that. And yeah, and then I'm throwing a party at the end of the year. I'm doing everything I possibly do, just to make it more fun. And so, you know, I've always just had this mindset that I want to be the guy that lights up the room when I walk in, not when I walk out. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I do the same thing. I do player evaluations no matter what age they are. I give them 3 things. You know, here are 3 things that you're really doing well, and here are 3 things that if you do these things, you're going to take your game to the next level, no matter what level they're at. And they don't have to be an amazing player. There's so much growth and development at every age. And I send those out to them, and I talk to them in person, and then their parents get them and have an opportunity to interact with me about them as well. And all parents want is for their kids to be successful and be happy and having fun. So if I'm fostering that for them, I'm a pivotal person in their life, and they're going to remember that. So
love that.
Awesome, guys. That's awesome. You know, you all both said something in there that I want to point out again to the audience is that, you know, have a guy for everything, right? Like Michael is, you know, people are asking him, maybe they're not looking to move right away, but guess what? Somebody needs a new deck. Somebody needs their house painted. Somebody needs gutters. Somebody build those relationships. I mean, that's the one thing I've always teased everyone. I'm like the 411 when it comes to all of my past clients. But you know what? That's why I stay on top of mind and I keep getting their business, because they call me for everything. Another thing that we're going to be learning in person tomorrow is, you know, we have this ability to build ancillary services. And, you know, I'm going to go through this tomorrow at our in real life event here in Louisville. But, you know, I have built ancillary services for everything from furniture to contractors to you name it. When somebody needs appliances, they don't go to the store. They call Stephanie Gillison. I set them up with my builder discount because they know they're going to get money off. We as real estate agents have the ability, just as contractors do, to build those relationships. You can choose to make money or just pass on that discount to your client, which is what I do. I pass it on. But, you know, if somebody wants Wolf and Sub-Zero in their luxury home, guess who they call? Stephanie Gillison. Do I sell stoves? Hell no. But I recommend them to where to go and they get my discount because I am one of the suppliers here for Louisville. That was something that I built because who doesn't want to use the real estate agent that saves them money? That's called being a boss, right?
I also think I would much rather have somebody that I know doing the work on my client's house than some knucklehead stranger who's going to rake them over the coals, feed them a line of crap, and then, you know, charge them twice what it should have cost. And then when they call me to sell the house, I'm like, who the hell did all this?
Yeah,
well, we called this guy, and I'm like, why didn't you guys call me? Oh, we didn't want to bother you. So we do a really good job. Look, this all shakes out to intentionality. Both Michael and Drew, and obviously Stephanie's, you know, helping understand that. But like when we do a deal with our clients, they know we have somebody for everybody. And it's to the point where it's like the joke. Of course, Alex, you have a guy for this. Do you have a guy for that? I'm like, actually, I do. I have somebody for everything. So you never even have to think. All you have to do is just call Alex and we'll do it for you. And so I'm very straightforward to people. I've vetted our Rolodex and our database for people that we share 11 years in the making. The first guy that ever painted a house for me was a drunk guy that fell off a ladder, stepped in the paint bucket, and ruined the new carpet. The people we have today will paint your house in 24 hours. They're bulletproof. They're on time. They show up. And on top of that, they're the best price in the market. There's a different experience that you share with your clients. So they perceive you as this high end. Look, you don't have to sell $1 million house to be luxury. Luxury is the experience that you create for the people that you're working for. So when they're coming in there and they're going, gosh, I need Alex. Like the texts that we get can tend to be off the wall, but it's like, do you have a guy for this? Do you have a guy for car detailing? Yep, got that. Do this, go here, do that. It helps people understand there's just an easier way to do this. And what I tell people is, look, I'll refer you anybody you want. I can't guarantee that they're going to do a 10 out of 10, but if they don't, let me know and I'll put them in a headlock and take care of it. It lightens the mood. Look, people don't want to be put on the line for stuff, but we should be. That's what our job is.
Yeah.
These people are buying the most expensive or selling the most expensive. Put your neck on the line for them. Help them feel loved. Help them feel important. That's the stuff that matters.
That's
And
right.
I think-
And that is exactly why the number 6 rule in the BNI, you know, anybody part of the BNI group, number 6 rule of what they live by. Take care of your realtor. They're the most important person in this group. Why is that? Because we are the biggest connectors. This is an industry of connectors. So take advantage of that. Drew?
I was gonna say anytime, Alex, remember, I mean, we had a conversation about Abel, or Abel, we still don't know how to pronounce his name, but he wasn't showing up for either of our clients. So, I mean, he's out. So our contractor list that we hold very tight and close to our chest from our clients, we don't put it on our website so they can just go. We want to be the resource and we're constantly updating it. That'd be a great place to start, is just be the resource and go out and highlight different businesses. I mean, my wife, Lindsay, she'll take Goldfish crackers or popcorn, let the kids just throw them all over her car. And I said, I mean, I get my car detailed way too much, but I hired a mobile car detailer and said, I was so impressed. I put it out on Instagram. I'm like, anyone that goes to this guy's page and likes it, I'm giving away a free mobile car detailing. This was like 2 or 3 years ago. People call me to this day for that guy's information because they saw that video. And I think it's important to like try to be the resource for things outside of real estate.
That's so true. I mean, you know, next week we're going to be talking about luxury, how you get into luxury, not just elevating, but luxury. And like Alex said, that's part of a service. Luxury is a service. It is that white glove service. But, you know, once you become that relationship builder and the go-to and the 411, you will never miss a listing opportunity because they won't, you know, it's like, I used to always say, I'm like a damn fungus that doesn't go away for my clients, right? Because no matter what, I've always come through for them. And so, and they, you know, they would say that to me, you're like a fungus. Everywhere we go, we hear about you or you're helping us or this or that. That's what you want to be. That's your goal. That's how you elevate.
You know, when you go into these listing appointments, you know, at any price point, if you walk in there and your intention is to get a listing, you're not going to get it. They're going to know, they're going to be able to tell, they're going to smell it on your breath. But if you go in there with the intentionality to find something that they need help with, because typically when you're meeting with somebody, their house is not prepared or there's something they can do to improve that process. So coming from the spot of like, hey, look, you said you need a painter. Do you have a painter that's painting your house? Do you have a stager? You have this awesome basement, but no furniture down there. Have you thought about staging that? Or, you know, I had a client the other day that kept telling me, I have my own furniture to stage the house. And I'm like, but you don't, but it's not, you know? And so if you're going there with the intentionality to say, what do you need? We need to sell our house for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. Here's what we do. And here's the service that we provide you. It's more than just, I can do that. There has to be more value that you're adding.
Absolutely. And be truthful, you know, that's where you win. I mean, I've told many things that would be heartbreaking to people, right? But when the house is tired, you better tell them, do you want the awesome price that your neighbor got, or do you want the tired price that your home represents? Help them fix it. All right. Awesome. Did I miss any questions in the chat, John? Got a quiet group today, but that was so much awesome information.
Yeah, the facilitators did a great job sharing the nuggets, that's for sure. I did share the YouTube channel where we upload all the recordings and the replays. So if you want to subscribe, to get the first notifications when the replays are posted, even if there's a week you can't make it. We encourage you to subscribe. And next week, like Stephanie said, we're going to be talking luxury. If you wanted to crack the luxury market, you definitely want to be here. We've got 2 master agents, Stephanie being one, and a guest panelist, Elizabeth Riley from Austin, Texas, is going to be on. So we're super excited to have Elizabeth next week.